work overseas. So when one worker used his downtime to write poetry on cement mix packaging and small notebooks, that piqued our interest.
He has published his second poetry book called Braving Life, and his poems have been translated to Mandarin too, to give him the chance to reach out to more people. Now joining us in the studio this morning is MD Mukul Hossine, the author of Braving Life, a Cyril Wong poet and writer, and Liu Jiahui, a student from the Nanyang Girls High School. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Everyone.
Everyone. Mukul, I want to start with you. You wanted to compose music, but you ended up writing poems instead. How come?
When I was starting my music journey, my papa just really don't like because we are Muslim. So they will be starting some nagging to with my mothers. So finally, I just take my own decisions. Yeah, I don't want to making Quran and everything with my family, and I will be trying to modify to and composition my own song. So I just writing song. And I just composition my own voice. Then slowly my sister and my mother just told me that this is not song, I think it's poem.
Okay.
Oh.
So yeah, so finally I just give to the newspaper to publishing it.
Look, you know, it's a tough life being a migrant worker in an overseas country. Where and when did you find the time to write your poems?
Especially it's very difficult times to arranging for me, and it's very tough. So when I was have coffee break or lunch times, and especially I spend time on Saturday night because I have sometimes Sunday off. So I studying 11 p.m. to studying writing and until 4 a.m. So it's big times for me to write.
And what inspires your poetry?
Especially I spare back homes and my mother and Nonine is here. And especially I want to trying to open up to be our feelings, emotional and everything to make appreciate to the worker, to the Singaporeans.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarah, let's bring you into this conversation.
Yes.
How did the two of you connect? How did Mukul and Cyril actually meet?
Serendipity. It was actually at a poetry reading for migrant workers. And Mukul, it was a very enterprising writer. He approached me and basically asked to be my friend, talked about the possibility of like turning his poems into English. So the whole conversation started from there.
And so, Jiahui, what made you decide to translate his poems to Mandarin? Was it difficult?
Yeah, I was also at the migrant poetry evening, and you know, I didn't read like his poems on paper first. I heard him perform it. And I felt that it was so powerful in Bengali. And suddenly when this opportunity came to me that I could translate his poems into Mandarin, I was really excited because I can finally bring his poems to a new audience who might converse in Mandarin and who reads Mandarin. And by doing that, I think there will be a wider range of audience who are exposed to his story and hear his emotions and relate to them. So I was really up for this.
The thing is, it's so difficult because you're talking about switching from Bengali to English and then to Chinese. How were you able to capture the messages
and the nuances,
and the nuances, the emotions?
I think she captured it perfectly. I mean, it's like just watching him read his poems and realizing that the emotions are so raw, the experience is so universal. I mean, the sufferings that he goes through, the emotions. I mean, these are things that will translate across the different languages very easily.
Wow. And Mukul, you just wrote this second book called Braving Life. Tell us about your journey writing this one.
Especially my first book, Me, Migrant, is getting quite success in Singapore. And I feel that most of Singaporeans appreciate to migrant workers about this. So my decision is once to publishing these books is English and Chinese, because most of people just request to me to writing in Chinese, but I didn't know how to write in Chinese.
Right.
So I just take decision and thinking that how I'm getting more my reader in Singapore, and most of people just reading my poems. So basically I just request to somebody to translations to the Chinese. Yeah.
I want to ask each one of you for your favorite poem in the book. I'll start with you, Mukul.
Yeah.
What is your favorite poem? Do you have a favorite poem in this
maybe
new
you
book,
could
Braving
just read us
Life?
a couple of lines?
It's, yes, I can do it. It's a writing, one of the poems, Waiting.
Okay.
Waiting, yes.
Waiting.
Okay, maybe you can give us 2 or 3 lines from that poem.
Okay, we can do it. This time I will come back during the long break and see you to my heart's content, discussing joy and sorrow. Doors and windows will stay shut. La vida will think cold. On delicate days, handphone, Facebook, WhatsApp. I shout up everything. Just keep one open for the love and caresses. I lay my head in your lap and become lost in our unknown horizons. We have so few days left.
Okay, it sounds like you're dedicating it to someone that you love in Bangladesh.
Yeah, especially
modernized with Facebook thrown in it as well. How about Jiahui?
Yes, what's your favorite?
My favorite during my translation was first Waiting, but I think the one that really hit me was Rebel. Yeah, that he dedicated it to cousin Nazrul Islam. Yeah.
Could you read us a few lines too?
Okay, and Chinese?
Yeah, Mandarin, totally.
纵使今日每条街道在哭喊，无畏的叛逆者啊，您在哪里？再一次传播您的诗，您的权利将获得自由。哦，叛逆者，另一把火炬，伤痕累累，燃烧着的音符如反抗的七弦琴响起。世界在倾听您的诚实，您的正直，如尖将锐耳的旋律。您和万物同在，营帐不朽的孟加拉诗句，进入爱的乐章。即便我将逝去，也由您支配。哦，孟加拉的叛逆者，伟大的纳兹鲁。
Wonderful, thank you. That was beautiful.
We're almost out of time. Very quickly, could you just maybe give us just one verse of your favorite, Cyril?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
This is Last Passion. After losing to time, I will not lose you to scarcity. I have to live in a foreign land. No one notices the soul ripping. No one listens. I remember you in loneliness, oh mother.
Thank you so much for coming in. All right, the book is called Braving Life. We've been speaking to Mukul Hossine, author of the poetry book Braving Life, Cyril Wong, poet and writer, as well as Liu Jiahui, student from the Nanyang Girls High School.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning. That was a wonderful conversation. Well, time for a short break now. World News is next, plus